The central irony of LSD is that the same drug used by spies as a weapon to control the mind was later embraced by many others as a sacrament to liberate or expand, or at the very least to explore the mind. How could one substance serve as such disparate and contradictory impulses? Now, the LSD story as a whole abounds with all sorts of ironies. Consider, for example, that a US intelligence veteran named Captain Al Hubbard was first introduced to LSD in 1951, just when the CIA was getting involved with experimenting with the drug. But unlike his cloak and dagger compatriots, Captain Al Hubbard saw the light on his first trip, and he made it his life's mission thereafter to turn on as many people as possible. Now that is really quite a plot twister. That is not something that the CIA necessarily anticipated. We should all be grateful that things don't always work out the way that the CIA hopes. What Captain Hubbard was doing, he started 10 years before Timothy Leary ever even tried the drug. So we're talking about the decade before the 60s now. And as it turns out, nearly every illicit mood-altering drug that became popular as a recreational drug on the street in the 1960s, 70s, and thereafter had prior to that been scrutinized, tested, in some cases even developed by the CIA and the US Army. I'm talking about now cannabis, heroin, cocaine, barbiturates, PCP, magic mushrooms, mescaline, laughing gas, the whole gamut. The CIA looked at all these different drugs, but of all the drugs, all the substances that they surveyed, none triggered as much enthusiasm as LSD. Because for starters, here you had a drug that was odorless, colorless, tasteless, and potent in very minute quantities. And these characteristics were appreciated by astute CIA strategists who experimented with themselves with LSD, or on themselves, in order to figure out how best to use LSD in covert operations, in espionage missions. Now, initially, these CIA space cowboys were completely blown away by LSD. They thought that it would revolutionize the craft of intelligence. Here was a drug, they surmised, which would enable US spies to crack the secret code of the mind in order to control it. And they hoped to gain an advantage over their Cold War rivals by using LSD. Now, when I was researching Acid Dreams, the book I wrote, one thing I was very surprised to find was the extent to which the CIA agents themselves were taking LSD in the early and mid-1950s. Everybody in the technical service staff, this was a unit within the CIA, it was a small unit, about a dozen people. Everybody in the technical service staff took LSD, and the technical service staff was the unit that ran the MK Ultra program, which was the CIA's main drug testing program. It looked at various, not just drugs, but a wide range of different behavior modification and mind control techniques. This was the main research and development program doing this sort of thing for the CIA during the Cold War. Well, the technical service staff was not the only unit in the CIA that was working with LSD. There were several different units. And the first unit to get involved was the Office of Security. And they got kind of miffed because the technical service staff, you have to understand that LSD was really a hot item in the CIA. It provoked a great deal of excitement. And when the Office of Security saw that the technical service staff, which started later than them, was sort of getting most of the action, they got kind of jealous and upset. And they had a spy start looking at from their own unit, looking at what technical service was doing. And this produced a very interesting series of documents that was sort of rather, you might say, unvarnished. And at one point, an Office of Security spy gets wind of a plan on the part of a technical services agent to dose the punch at the annual CIA Christmas party in 1954. And the Office of Security guy very indignantly writes, I do not recommend putting LSD in the punch or at the Christmas party because it's dangerous and all that. The CIA people who took LSD were immersed in a paranoid, self-reinforcing, hermetically sealed world, a never-never land of eyes-only memos and unceasing experimentation, as one CIA officer put it. And not surprisingly, a lot of American spies had these anxiety-ridden bummers when they tripped on LSD. CIA documents actually refer to LSD as an anxiety-producing agent. That's how they defined it, as if anxiety was somehow encoded in the molecular structure of LSD. There were a few exceptions. There was actually, I didn't write about this, but I will reveal this for the first time. There was one technical services member who, after he left the CIA and graduated acid, ended up becoming a Buddhist meditation instructor.